You know, I've kept this inside for a very long time, longer than I should have. And I'm not even sure I know how to say it out loud, even now, even at 79 years old, sitting here talking to you. But I've decided I have to say it because carrying a secret for 50 years is a very heavy thing. And I'm tired. I'm just tired of carrying it. So here it is. My marriage was not what I told everyone it was, not even close. And nobody knew. Not my children, not my closest friends, not even my sister Margaret, who I tell everything to. Nobody knew until now. My name is Dorothy. I'm 79 years old. And I got married when I was 24 to a man named Robert. Robert was, he was everything a young woman in the 1960s was told to want. Tall, handsome, steady job, good family, respectable. My mother loved him immediately. My father shook his hand and said, "Dorothy, you found yourself a good man." And you know, I believed them. I really did. Because at 24, you don't always know the difference between love and the relief of being chosen. I confused the two. And that confusion, it shaped the next 50 years of my life. We got married on a Saturday in June. Beautiful day, flowers everywhere. My dress was white with small pearl buttons down the back that took my mother 20 minutes to fasten. Everyone cried. Everyone smiled. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. And I stood at that altar and I looked at Robert and I thought, I think I can love this man. Not, I love this man, but I think I can. You know the difference? I didn't think about that difference enough on that day. I just smiled and said I do, and everyone clapped. And I told myself the feeling would come, that love would grow. That's what people said, you know. Love grows over time. Give it time, Dorothy. So I gave it time. The first few years were fine. I think fine is the right word. Not wonderful, not terrible, just fine. Robert was a good provider. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't abusive. He came home every evening. He sat at the dinner table. He was present in the physical sense. But there was something missing, something I couldn't name for a long time, like, you know when a room has all the right furniture in all the right places, but somehow it still feels empty. That's what our marriage felt like. Everything looked right from the outside, but inside there was this quiet emptiness, this distance between us that neither of us ever really tried to close. We didn't fight, but we didn't really talk either. Not deeply, not the way I imagined a husband and wife should talk. We talked about the groceries, the bills, the neighbors, the children when they came along, but never about us, never about how we felt, never about whether we were happy. I think we were both afraid of what the answer might be. Here's the part that is hardest to say. About 3 years into our marriage, I met someone. His name was Thomas. He worked at the library where I volunteered every Thursday afternoon. He was quiet, thoughtful, the kind of man who actually listened when you spoke, who asked follow-up questions, who remembered what you told him weeks later. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt seen, really, truly seen. We never did anything wrong. I want to make that very clear. There was no affair, no betrayal in the physical sense. But emotionally, I gave Thomas something I never gave Robert. I gave him the real me, the me that was scared, the me that had doubts, the me that sometimes lay awake at night wondering if I had made a terrible mistake at that altar. Thomas and I talked for hours every Thursday about books, about life, about what we believed and what we feared and what we dreamed about. And you know, those Thursday afternoons at the library were the most alive I felt during those years. That's the truth I never told anyone. That my heart lived in a library on Thursday afternoons, while my body lived in a house that felt like a stage set. So I stayed, and I built a life, a real life in many ways. We had 3 children, Claire, then James, then our youngest, Michael. Beautiful children. I poured everything I had into being their mother. And that love, the love I had for my children, that was never pretend, that was the realest thing in my life. But the marriage itself, you know, I became very good at performing happiness. Sunday dinners, Christmas mornings, anniversary celebrations, smiling in photographs, holding Robert's hand in public. I was like an actress who had been playing the same role for so long, she forgot there was ever a real her underneath. And Robert, I don't think he ever knew. Or if he suspected something was missing, he never said so either. We were 2 people being very polite to each other for 50 years. And the saddest part, I think he deserved better too. He deserved a woman who truly chose him, not a woman who settled for him out of fear and obligation. I robbed him of that without him ever knowing. Robert got sick when he was 74, his heart. And something shifted between us then. When you watch someone become fragile, when you sit beside them in hospital rooms and hold their hand while machines beep around you, something changes. I started taking care of him, really taking care of him. And in doing that, I found not the romantic love I had missed, but something else, a deep tenderness, a genuine caring. Like, I looked at this man one afternoon, thin and tired in his hospital bed, and I thought, I don't want to lose you. Not because I was passionately in love with him, but because he was the father of my children, because he had been kind to me in his quiet way for 50 years, because whatever our marriage lacked, he had never been cruel. He had never hurt me intentionally. He had just been the wrong person chosen for the right reasons at the wrong time. And I held his hand a lot in those last months, more than I had in all the years before combined. He passed away 3 years ago, quietly, at home, with me beside him. And I whispered to him, "I'm sorry, Robert. I gave you what I could. I'm sorry it wasn't more." I don't know if he heard me, but I needed to say it. After Robert passed, I went through his things, and in the back of his desk drawer, I found a small folded piece of paper. I opened it. It was a note in Robert's handwriting, undated. It said, "I know Dorothy has never been fully mine. I don't know what I did wrong, but I want her to know I loved her the best I knew how." I sat on the floor of that study for a very long time, because all those years, all that careful pretending, and he knew. He knew something was missing, and he blamed himself. For 50 years, that quiet, gentle man thought he had failed me, when really I had failed him. I had failed us both by being too afraid to be honest at the very beginning. Too afraid at 24 to say, "I'm not sure I love you enough to marry you." Too afraid at 27 to say, "Something is missing between us, and I think we should talk about it." Just too afraid. And we both paid for that fear, quietly, for 50 years. So, why am I telling you this now? Because I'm 79 years old, and the people involved are gone, and the children are grown, and I have nothing left to protect except the truth. And because I think there are people watching this right now who are living some version of what I lived. Maybe you're in a relationship that looks right from the outside but feels empty on the inside. Maybe you chose someone out of fear or obligation, or because it seemed like the sensible thing to do. Maybe you're pretending, performing, smiling in photographs while something quiet inside you aches. I want to talk to you directly. Lesson 1. Honesty at the beginning saves suffering at the end. The conversation I was too afraid to have at 24 cost me 50 years of quiet unhappiness, and it cost Robert 50 years of quiet self-doubt. One honest conversation, even a painful one, would have been kinder to us both than 50 years of polite pretending. You know, I thought I was being responsible, practical, a good woman doing the right thing. But choosing Robert out of fear wasn't responsible. It was selfish. He deserved someone who chose him fully, freely, without reservation. We all do. I told myself for years that a peaceful home was enough, that kindness was enough, that stability was enough. But a marriage without deep emotional connection is just a very polite arrangement. You can survive in it, but you won't truly live in it. I kept so many things unsaid for so long. And I thought I was keeping our family together, protecting everyone. But the silence didn't protect anyone. It just meant Robert died not fully understanding what had gone wrong. And I lived with guilt I didn't need to carry if I had just spoken. I'm being honest now, at 79, to strangers on the internet. Because I couldn't be honest at 24 to the man I was standing at an altar with. The honesty is the same, but the timing matters enormously. Be honest now, while there is still time for it to change something. I have spent 3 years since Robert passed trying to forgive myself for the choice I made at 24, for the Thursday afternoons, for the note I found in his drawer. I am getting there, slowly. But I want you to know that self-forgiveness without understanding is just self-indulgence. You have to look at what you did, really look at it, understand why, and then decide to do differently. I don't know if I feel better having said all of this. Ask me again in a week, but I know it needed to be said for Robert, who deserved more honesty than I gave him, for Thomas, wherever he is now, who showed me what it felt like to be truly seen, and who I hope found someone who could give him that fully and freely. For my children, who I hope will understand that their mother was just a frightened young woman who made the best choices she could with the courage she had at the time. And for you, watching this, maybe recognizing something. You know, if there is one thing I want you to take from my story, it is this. Don't be afraid of the honest conversation, the one you've been putting off, the one that feels too risky, too dangerous, too likely to break something. Because here's what I know at 79 that I didn't know at 24. The truth told kindly never breaks anything worth keeping. And the truth left unspoken, breaks everything eventually, just more slowly, just more quietly, just in ways that are harder to see until it is very, very late. Be brave enough to be honest while you still can. That's all. That's everything.